Welcome back, everyone. We just saw ourselves a very, very interesting game number one there. Wildcard looking quite strong, is able to come back a little bit after Immortals was able to get a little bit of a mid-game swing for themselves there. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, Quacker on his Darius and Team Luke on Navaris just doing a lot more than what people expected here, as they were just able to turn things around. Immortals right now, you know, we've seen this replay, they look pretty strong, but unfortunately at the end of the day, it was the late game team fights that really mattered at the end, and as a result, Wildcard were able to walk away with this one.
Yeah, and I hope we see, this is the Baron fight where everything turned, and just the fact that Xeno and Team Luke position themselves behind this wall, they're able to pump out so much damage without being touched, and the apprehend from Quacker into the laser, into the arrow from Team Luke, that was the big turn that Wildcard needed in that game. It bought them enough time to get the items on the AP Varus that they needed for it to function. And after that, Team Luke, man, just started pumping out so much damage. IMT weren't ever able to get another angle on him. And Wildcard, off the back of Quacker's play, Team Luke's play, and their overall team play, able to come back, dig deep, pull out that game one. And now the amateur team finds themselves up 1-0. IMT on match point and on the point that they need for their tournament lives, XT. They've picked blue side, so find themselves on the same side once again. Got to change things up just a little bit, as look at the 763 popping up there from the
Oh,
arrow.
they rewinded it as well.
Oh, let's go. Oh,
okay.
So nice for our production here. Man, I want to compare this to the Jace Qs that we saw from Viper in the game.
Okay, no, those Jace Qs were I think a lot more brutal. You know,
I mean, it's up there. It took a little bit longer for the Varus to get online, but hey, either way, Team Luke, his play was popping. Everyone that was eating those arrows, they were popping on the Rift as well, like balloons. Yep. Wildcard able to stack the deck in their favor, take that game one victory, XT, and going into game two, gonna have to see what sort of adaptions the Immortals have up their sleeves. They picked the same side going into the second one, going to be on blue side once again. I think that they like the fact that they're able to take that mid jungle priority with the Lucian, the Udyr. We saw some good things out of Potluck early. Just weren't able to see IMT, able to snowball that one through. And Wildcard as well, that early flip, keep in mind they had a 2k gold lead. IMT, they had to really dig deep, find the picks, and get themselves back into the game. And so hopefully they're able to not fall at that same sort of deficit in this game two that they game one, and get some new strats, get themselves back in the series, and give us 3 games. That's definitely, I think, what the fans want. Maybe not what Wildcard fans want, but general sentiment.
Yeah, we always want to be able to go the full distance here whenever we are in a best of threes as casters, but something else I want to highlight, Darius kind of makes you play the game a little bit differently, and I think that's something that maybe Immortals weren't prepared for, right? Because that's my initial thoughts, right, heading into this game number 2. I don't think that Darius is making a comeback, unfortunately, Cubby, and it's going to be, again, one of those picks that can throw people off. We've seen there have been some case studies on it. I think we saw it in the LEC, right, with Schalke 04 being able to take that with Broken Blade at the top side, and now a little bit of that from Quacker. So Morrow's maybe not as prepared for that. I would expect that Darius is gone, but otherwise, again, the strong points from that last game, the Udyr and the Lucian, very, very strong for both Potluck and Pretty. I don't imagine they get their hands on that on the other side as well. And I'm really excited to see on what both teams may have cooking here. And hopefully Tapoon has a much better match for himself, because definitely he did not have a good time against this Darius at the top lane.
To be fair, that's a pretty brutal counter pick, and
right
into Darius into a short range team that's not the highest on damage. That's the exact comp that he wants to play in and he thrives in. And I mean, Quacker also known for his Darius play. Keep in mind, this guy, he plays Darius. It's his most played in solo queue. He has 2 accounts in top 100 here on the NA server for Wildcard. And these amateur players, they may not have the academy contracts, but it's not like they're slouches. But if you've been tuning in the Proving Grounds throughout, they've been able to prove that everyone that is in this tournament deserves to be here. Wildcard continuing to prove that here. But IMT, they want to prove that they deserve to stay here, as we're about to hop into the draft of this game too relatively soon. And I want to see, I think that the core that they had with the Seraphine, the Lucian, we saw some nice encores out of Keith. We were able to see IMT really accelerate that mid game, even though they were behind at a deficit. They're just able to take that lead and, push it to a win. That's what we were talking with Jensen about earlier, right? Just staying calm, playing their game, not getting ahead of themselves. The one moment they got a little bit ahead of themselves with that Baron, Wildcard were able to properly punish, and that's where the wheels started coming off for IMT. So hopefully they can, go back to the shop, grab that new spear, that new shield that, the Immortals mascot probably has, and then, get back on the Rift.
Yeah.
Maybe a Pantheon. I feel like that'd be a great mascot for Immortals.
Oh yeah, Pantheon. Definitely haven't seen Pantheon in a while in the meta at least, but definitely would be a great mascot
I
for
miss
any
Pantheon.
team. Pantheon was a fun champion, kind of, somewhat.
I have old man mechanics. I can play Pantheon. That's all
fair.
that I care about. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. The good old days of click stun a champion and be able to burst him for a lot of champion. I wonder. Udyr maybe can. Yeah, he could definitely do that as well. So unfortunately, I think all good things come to an end for Mr. Pantheon there. But Udyr is also, I think, another champion that I want to turn our attention to, right? Because Potluck again, a lot of the early game presence did come from or mid game presence did come from getting those picks with Udyr. But again, the early game, right? Well, that game was a little bit messy to start for both teams, right? After Potluck was trying to go for that bot lane. Scuttle unfortunately got caught out by the rest of Wildcard. I think Wildcard do kind of know what they're getting themselves into when they are giving over those many champions like that. And we are going to be heading into the draft fight soon, Cubby. I'm very excited to see if we're going to be seeing the same picks or whatnot. But I wonder if that Udyr will make a comeback as well.
It's something that IMT, it felt like that was their strength, the fact that Potluck was able to secure that tempo. They had that mid-jungle duo that gives you that favorable early game. Potluck was making a lot of the right decisions when Wildcard was executing a play on one side of the map. He was going in and stealing Panda's camps on the opposite side, and just wasn't able to bring it to fruition to a win. As IMT, that Baron call, just getting a little bit ahead of themselves, just much like if you caught game one of Norg versus Barrage, happened to Barrage. And if you didn't catch that game, go back and watch that series, as that first series was a dynamite best of three between two of the best teams that we have in amateur, and I think now we can say in the tournament, quite frankly, as Norg looked like a team that is one to beat. But that said, we're going to focus back onto this match, XT, as we are in game two of this one, and IMT already making adjustments in draft, taking the Seraphine away from themselves. So I think important for Wildcard, that is a three-way flex for them. Not a Team Nuke champion, but Daption, known for his Enchantress play. Xeno undefeated on Seraphine in 3 games throughout all of the games that Wildcard have played in Amateur. So going to be denying that, and already IMT is switching things up, taking the same side, but already making the adaptations that they feel like they need to take this game to.
So the last ban there for Wildcard was the Graves last time. I wonder if we're going to be seeing an Udyr instead to deny that B1 for themselves. Hacker Moss going to get taken away from the board there from Panda. So, we didn't see the handshake last game. I wouldn't be surprised if Wildcard Gaming didn't want to take the handshake as well. So, you got to now wonder, do you give up the Udyr or do you go ahead and let something else through? The Rel is open if, Immortals want to take that away from themselves if they don't get their hands on the Udyr. But other than that, I can't really think of other B1 first picks here that Immortals might want to get for themselves. Walk me through that, Cubby. What do you expect?
So one of the changes, the Udyr has been banned, but Potluck, he loves to default to his Graves. He is well known for his Graves play in the server and in Academy. Not going to be the first pick, as you usually want to see the jungle matchup before you are able to lock that one down, but with the junglers taken away, we might see a little bit increased priority on the Volibear. Also important to note that Thresh is still up and Immortals have locked in the Jinx. In LPL, we're seeing a lot of handshakes where Thresh and Tom Kenshire being the handshake, and then like Jinx, Varus, or Jinx, Ashe, and some of these long-range AD carries. It feels like Wildcard, they want to keep on securing that Thresh for Daption. It is his second most played throughout the entire split. He's 6-5 on the champion. And I'd say that Daption looked pretty good on it in the last one as well, helping Wildcard turn that game around. And wouldn't be surprised we see the same bot lane coming out from Wildcard, because Team Nuke on that Varus, once he was able to secure that third item, was pumping out so much damage in the fights with those arrows, with the Kraken Slayer, the fact that applies the Nashor's damage as well on hit every third auto. So hopefully that's something that Wildcard feels like they're still comfortable with, where they still have the option to potentially select the priority jungler if they want to here as well. Nope.
It's got to be
They're going
Varus.
for the Varus. We want the same bot lane. We want to run that one back for sure.
Yep, I'm pretty interested in seeing on how Wildcard is going to maneuver this draft. they have all their same picks they could have if they wanted to, B3 Victor if they wanted to, but Immortals, they have to have a completely different draft here. Rel is still available if you want to take that up for Joey. You could also look at potentially stealing that Victor away, but no, Tahm Kench is going to be the answer there. A common counter pick, actually, to the Thresh to really deny any of those death sentences if needed, and Jinx does need a lot of that safety, so she's going to be able to have that going for her, as Pretty now going to be deciding what he wants for himself. Doesn't really have the luxury of getting that Udyr for his team anymore.
Here.
Yeah, could go for something safe like the Orion. Could take away the Victor as well if you wanted to. No, it's going to be that Volibear locked in, and that is, again, a two-way flex there for Immortals.
Yeah, so making sure they feel like this might be the strongest jungler that's still up. Still gives them some of that flexibility in draft. And also, you were talking about how Tahm Kench was kind of a deny or a counter pick to the Thresh because you can eat whoever gets death sentence. Keep in mind, it's also the same for the Varus, right? With wherever that ultimate lands, if Tahm Kench elects to take cleanse, he can even eat that as well, and I fully expect to see that out of Joey too. I talked about the Orianna actually for Immortals, as Wildcard were hovering that the entire time. Last second, they swapped to Graves. So the deny coming out from Potluck, taking his best jungler, and Panda taking one that he has 3 games on as well. I do want to touch on Orianna, though, as Pretty, in 4 games of the... he is 3-1 with a 12.3 KDA. Statistically, and then also objectively speaking, just going back through the VODs, a highlight champion for the mid laner of Immortals, who is coming over from EU, from Vodafone Giants, where they won their league, placed, I believe, like 5th through 8th in EU Masters. It's been a mid laner. It's been very hyped up for good reason for Immortals Academy. Had some decent play on the Lucian in the last game, but I'm curious to see what happens with the Orianna in this one. Whereas Immortals Academy, another adaptation for them, XT, no Darius for Quacker. They've seen one game of it, and that is enough.
Yep, that's enough for everyone at home, unfortunately, if you were a fan of Quacker's Darius here. You're not going to be able to see that for a while. I think right now the bans from Wildcard are setting up for that Orianna R4. I'm not going to lie. So maybe Immortals may want to consider banning that away for himself, so Zeno can't really get them for himself, because it then creates kind of an awkward matchup here for Immortals. And, if you're Wildcard, you don't really have the luxury as well of taking that Lucian for yourself. There's the Orianna of himself. You want to take that, you want to risk that triple marksman composition. I don't think you're going to be taking that Lucian away. It is still up and available.
Here comes
for Pretty if he wants it.
Yeah, could easily be an Azir here for Zeno, another
that is true.
Very stable champion that he's played in the mid lane, as actually opting for a bit of a different flavor here, potentially for Wildcard, as they see their comp. We have a lot of frontliners in the jungle, using that turbo chem tank to find the engages and be very tanky. Going for the Graves, that's not something that you are granted for Wildcard Gaming, so wanting to secure that tank in the top lane, a safe blind pick. They want to take the Scion. I would expect Tapoon, this sets up pretty well for another Aatrox from him. It's a very good matchup, and while he was counterpicked in the last game and had a tough time, he does have the ability now to use his counterpick, try and use that champion to a lot of strength, as we talked about the Azir. Immortals say, thank you very much, we'll take that one for ourselves, as they locked it in for Pretty in the mid lane as they continue throughout this draft.
Yeah, and now it's like you see the mid lane pool is incredibly shrunken here, as, there's the Cho'Gath, the very fun counterpick that's been popping up against Sion here, but I'm going to throw that one to you, Cubby. What are your thoughts on that?
I love Cho'Gath in the tanks because he has such a good tank matchup, and I would love this. I'd love the Viger pick if Zeno goes for it. He is teasing us with it. This is a great counter pick into Azir. Would give a lot of control, a lot of front-to-back power for Wildcard Gaming, and yeah, I like this pick a lot for Wildcard, because what this does is, when you look at IMT, they have 2 or 3 ways to engage, which is Cho'Gath running at you, Volibear running at you and ulting, and then Azir maybe finding a Shurima Shuffle. Zeno on the Viger denies that from Pretty, denies that engage option, and also gives you the ability to cage the bird, put him in a lot of tricky positions. Fortunately for Immortals, they do have Tahm Kench that can eat you, save you from the stun, save you from the Viger burst, but you can only do that to one person for IMT, so we're going to have that flavor pick for Zeno. Getting back to the Cho'Gath, he's like a tank that counters other tanks, because that auto attack reset on his E actually really powerful, and then the fact that he does true damage and then brings all the zone control into the fights. He gets shoved in a little bit early, but is able to sustain through the Sion matchup and does pretty well throughout the game. with the Turbo Chem Tank or the Iceborne Gauntlet, will be able to make a big impact on these team fights. And against a squishier team, a Wildcard, if he's able to use that true damage to eat the Scion, and they can get an early reset for the Jinx, it would enable Immortals to get excited and try and snowball through the rest of Wildcard Gaming, who are relatively squishy outside of the Scion. So I really like this pick actually coming in for Immortals. I think it's a very good use at Cho'Gath. I think it's going to give them a lot of power throughout the game.
Yeah, something I will note is that, there is only one way for Cho'Gath to get to you, and he has to walk up to you. And I think right now, Wildcard Gaming has a lot of ways to kind of just avoid or be able to kite out this Cho'Gath if they're able to, right? You got the ultimate from the Varus, right? The Chains of Corruption. You also have, the Baby Cage there from the Veigar. And not to mention as well, Scion is a great frontline champion as well. Yes, granted, he does, unfortunately, doesn't do too hot whenever Cho'Gath is able to do some true damage to him. But you also got to keep in mind, Panda could opt into that Shield Bow build, get a lot of of extra lifesteal and whatnot, and be able to kind of out-sustain a lot of these fights. So really, we have to keep our minds or our eyes out here for Wildcard to see if they are able to out-kite their opponents here. While IMT, yes, while on paper, they do have a quite strong composition and to be able to kind of get some matches that they do like the Cho'Gath into the Scion. You also have to keep in mind, right? Pretty on this Azir. Is he going to be able to perform or not? I feel like a lot of this competition hinges on him as Keith kind of plays second fiddle with this Jinx.
It's going to be tricky, too, because, if we're going to bring our minds way back to some old Azir counters back in, Season 5, Season 6, AD Varus mid used to be the Azir counter, right? If you think back to, the tier stack and, the straight lethality, you'd hit your item breakpoints so early, and you could just outrange the Azir. It's something that IMT, with the build that Team Luke is going for, it's the same Keystone setup as last game, so I assume it's going to be, the same Kraken Slayer and the Nashor's Tooth into the Void Staff. He doesn't really hit his stride until 3 items, but still, they have the potential to really zone out Pretty's Azir, make his life rather difficult, as they are going to utilize some early skills, get some early scoutings, get an early trinket down, and it looks like we might have a late invade coming out from
I like late
Quacker
invades.
and Panda in the top side. We have to bring our attention to this immediately. XT is Wildcard. They woke up and chose violence in this game, too.
Yep, and they're going to go ahead and start beating up this blue buff, unfortunately, and we're going to have to see if Potluck is going to be able to respond here. Uses the blast, going to hop over the wall, and now Cracker taking a little bit of damage thanks to the blue buff, and I think Wildcard is just going to go ahead and concede this one. Cracker maybe taking a little bit too much. He wants as much HP as possible to be able to fight against, but the ward in that bush is going to be able to give Panda some information. Now he's going to be looking to do some damage to this Volibear as blue buff will reset again. And now Panda will walk away from the situation. No, he's going to try to see if he can get that blue buff for himself. While Tahoon is going to be able to get a great trade on the Quacker. This blue buff still going to get... wow. Okay, Panda will finally concede this blue buff. And
is that blue buff? Is that wearing a pedometer? I wonder how many steps the blue buff just took. I feel like he's really getting in his early steps here in the game.
That's a lot of cardio work, I will say.
Yeah, a lot of cardio work for the blue buff. Is just getting pulled around by both junglers. That said, Quacker does hit level 2 first because Tapoon did miss out on a little bit of, I believe, experience from that initial wave from the trade. The fact that he had this long way to lane. Nice little trade landing here for Daption and Team Nuke. They're able to chunk out Joey, but a little bit of an awkward start here for both junglers. It is going to set Potluck a little bit behind as he actually went down and took his wolf camp.
Thank gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can tell that XT is a jungler because he's mauling the fact that that one might have reset if he didn't smite it.
Yeah. Oh, something I will note though. This is actually not good for Panda, right? Because now 315, he's going to be level 2, right? Because he's only been able to take 2 camps. He's walking to this top side of the river right now. Level 2, by the way, against Potluck's level 3. And, Panda, this is not the start you wanted at all for Graves. And Zeno right now just taking Azir to the face. Potluck right now trying to see what he can do. Has to force the flash, however. Level 2 Graves, though, you don't want to mess with him at all. Gets to smite. Being is able to heal a little bit. And now, Panda, who is still level 2, is able to get it. But the
Tapoon!
Where did Tapoon come from? Gets the flash over the one. That's a double kill for this Cho'Gath. And oh man, even though Panda gets the first blood, he has to be reeling as, man, he is so behind the levels, and he will lose that bot lane scuttle as well, thanks to Immortal Academy.
All right, so the flip game 1, it goes the way of Wildcard. Game 2, the Wildcard, they overreach a little bit, and Tapoon, thanks to the fact that we talked about the fact that it's like a tank that counters tanks in the Cho'Gath. He has priority in this lane. He crashed the wave against Quacker, and Quacker's left with ditching this wave and trying to help or just seeding this play to Poon. Beautiful play coming out from him, as I love the fact that he drops the Rupture, then flash silences to make sure that no one was getting out of that one, and no one ended up escaping the grasp of the Void Monster. You talked about the Rock Monster in the first game. This has got to be the Void Monster XT, as good lead for Tapoon in the top lane. Now his double buff's going to make life really difficult for Quacker.
Yeah, and this is him getting revenge after that. You know, Darius' game was just incredibly rough for Tapoon. Now, you know, on this Cho'Gath, has to be super, super great. On the other side, you know, I always got to keep in mind my jungle right now. And unfortunately for Panda, he did get double scuttle buffed. He is now going to be in a pretty awkward pathing for himself. Got to be forced to play towards the top side as well. And I think Potluck is going to be quite ahead when it comes to this first dragon that's about to spawn here. Should be able to maybe secure one for Insti if they want to get some early objectives for themselves. And I'm really going to have to keep my eyes on how Potluck kind of plays around the map now that he does have quite a significant lead. He has either two choices: either play for that dragon, or you go for the top lane, top camps for himself, and try to continue maintaining that temple and try to continue to state your dominance over Panda, who is going to be a little bit behind because of the lack of scuttle crabs he does at the moment. Potluck will, I believe, hit that level 6 first.
I know it was a bit of an awkward early game, but this is really the strength that we've seen from Immortals Academy throughout the season, right? These early games, they've already secured about a 1k gold advantage. They have tempo everywhere, as you were mentioning. XT Potluck now has the choice about whether he wants to take the dragon or go for his top lane camps. The dragon, it is going to be the fact that they do have push in both mid and bot at the moment. I think Panda making the intelligent decision to go deny some camps, as there's the only camps up on the map right now. A good trade coming out of Wildcard, but still Immortals gonna feel good about the fact they're securing the first dragon of the game. Good team play coming out, and good use of the early lead they were able to secure thanks to that Rift Herald, or the Scuttle Crab skirmish.
Right, and you know, this could lead to another Scuttle Crab skirmish because, you know, there's only one path for Volibear to go, and he's just going to go to the top side of this moment because, you know, that's what was originally available to him, but Panda now going to be able to catch up after that poor early game, going to be able to get 2 extra camps for himself. That's going to feel really good. You also got to realize the differences between these two junglers. One of these junglers relies more heavily on gold than the other. This Graze needs his items to do a lot of damage, needs to get, you know, either that Gale Force or a Shield Ball, as compared to Potluck, where all you really have to play for is, you know, getting that Chem Tank, and he's okay with giving up some gold every once in a while in order to play for his team. So that's really the stylistic differences we see here between both these junglers based off their picks.
So we see Potluck. No crab skirmish going down this time. Can be able to secure that one safely. 1k gold lead still for Immortals. But this is the point where this mid lane matchup starts to sway in the favor of Xeno. So he's not going to get as much push, but this starts to get scary for the side of Pretty, the fact that he can't get one shot. Xeno actually looks like he's rushing towards that Everfrost. It's actually a build that I really like on Viger. We first saw it out of Strompist, a former Academy player for FlyQuest who competed with Supernova in the average split this year, where you can rush Cosmic Drive on Vigar, and the breakpoint for that is 160 AP, which usually takes 2 items for any other mid. But for Vigar, thanks to his passive, you get that breakpoint on 1, so you can get access to extra move speed and ability haste very early in the game. I would not be surprised if he goes for that item second, as those are all stats that feel really good on Vigar. But going for the Everfrost, making sure they're able to chain those roots, chain those stuns. This is a brutal counter matchup if they are able to execute it, as Daption executes the death sentence on a minion.
Ooh, I also got to point out that bot lane is looking really rough so far for Team Luke and Daption. Keep on that Jinx right now has been a silent player here for Immortals, maintaining a 30 CS lead, or around 20 CS lead, and this Jinx could pose a little bit of a problem towards these mid-game fights. Dragon's about to spawn in about 2 minutes here. We see the gold right now. Team Luke, it's definitely going to be a while before he gets his hands on that first mythic item of the game here. And we also see on the top side, this Graves and Veigar, they're just going to go ahead and take this Rift Herald for themselves there. So that's going to be a nice play for Panda. And, you know, usually we see Rift Heralds be played for the laners. This time, I think it's going to be the other way around. Panda wants to get as much gold as he can.
I actually am really surprised that Panda was able to sneak that one. That's a pretty big play for Wildcard. He didn't really have any other camps up, so the fact that he was able to find that timing, sneak in the back of that pit with that dash, and take that objective for himself, might be the gold injection that Wildcard need to hang in this early game, because Immortals this is their comfort zone, right? From talking with Joey and Jensen, they wanted to use their strong early game that they know they have and then get into a calm, cool, collected state where they think that they can take down the amateur team in Wildcard, who oftentimes thrive in the chaos. That's where Team Luke is able to find those big team fights that we've seen throughout Wildcard's amateur appearances, the tournaments that they've used to get here.
Right.
But so far, no room to breathe for Wildcard on the map, as that Rift Herald is really the only positive play they've been able to find so far. Besides that, gold advantage is everywhere for Immortals.
Yep, and now Panda going to be starting on his blue buff, looking to give that one to Xeno, but the rest of Immortals are looking to get... Okay, all right, Joey's just going to chomp that one up, and sorry, Xeno, you ain't getting blue today. Forgot Tom Kench is able to eat monsters like that, and that's going to be a sad Graves there, is going to get denied another camp for his team, and unfortunately, we'll have to walk to his wolves in shame, as Joey has to feel really great about that one.
I feel like Joey really missed out on the opportunity to use like Master Chef Tom Kench, where like once you land your passive, you get like the fork and the knife, because he just ate that blue buff. We talked about the pedometer on the other blue buff. That one, fortunately, going to be mincemeat for the side of Immortals, as cute little play to be able to secure another blue buff for Potluck.
Blue buffs just can't catch a break here.
Yeah, just can't catch a break for Wildcard. Maybe a break comes here in the mid lane, as Pretty might be caught out.
Has to pop the flash, and that's the, smoke screen is just such an annoying skill, especially when you could pair it up with the Event Horizon. And now, it's going to be Rift Herald popped into mid lane, not going to be able to take the turret, but you see everyone else leaving. That's going to mean who's going to get the gold? It's Panda on that Graves. He's got to feel really good about that one. And goes to show, there again, when you pick that Graves, it's very different from other junglers we've seen in the meta so far, who are able to get their stats super cheap. Graves needs that gold. He needs that. Needs those resources to become a relevant threat into the late game. Otherwise, you're just going to be looking at Team Luke, who's going to be doing a majority of the damage, while that burst damage will come from Xeno. So it's really just that waiting game, and Panda, although the early game a little bit questionable, he's doing his best to really catch up here. But Potluck, again, just got to get that second dragon for his team, and going to be able to capitalize on, again, being able to play for his team.
Yeah, that bot lane priority, just too much. The fact that Keith and Joey have been able to get first say on the wave, use the Fishbones AoE rockets to just have control over this wave, and Team Luke really won't be hitting his stride here until he's able to get to that 3-item breakpoint that we talked about once again. It's really going to be all about, now that Pretty doesn't have flash, all about if they're able to find picks and land those onto this Phoenix and cage the bird in the mid lane. It's the big goal for Immortals as Wildcard they're setting up for right now.
Okay, they're looking for the Event Horizon, but won't be able to get that one. So unfortunately, Pretty will just be able to walk away from that. Meanwhile, Panda going to be pathing towards the bot side. Going to be looking to get some vision for himself and his team. Doubt a play for the bot side really comes into fruition. This is just going to be probably just another full clear from the bot to the top side here if you are Panda. But meanwhile, on the top side, I think Tapoon has decided to do some proxy farming. And this Trogath matchup, we're really... Quacker's feeling really the brutal end of this one after he was able to get his counter matchup.
Yeah, and not only is Cho'Gath so good against tanks, but specifically against Scion, you have two ways to cancel that Q channel with both the Silence and the Rupture that Cho'Gath brings to the table. So Quacker feeling bad. That's the way the Scion's most effectively able to trade. It's denied by the Cho'Gath, and Tapoon going for the Aegis actually in the top lane. So I was thinking that the Iceborne, just to be able to control those fights, or you're against 3 range members, maybe the Turbo Chem tanks, just make sure you're able to get involved. But some more focus on the side laning and the trading with the Scion, as Tapoon might start looking for some of the solo kills, solo pressure in that top lane against the Scion.
And I think a lot of it has to do with just the lack of early game presence, right? Or early game fights happening for both these teams here. As Potluck is just going to be able to steal that one. Doesn't even need Smite for that. So Panda, oh man, again, it's just unlucky moment after unlucky moment. Oh, okay, that's a missed Jinx Rocket. Or, I mean, I did startle Team Luke. It interrupt his back.
Yeah, it did stop his base. It could be worse, as... you could be Panda and just, be at the campsite and then have your entire meal that you just prepped stolen by a bear with one auto attack. Unfortunately going down as once again Tapoon. They see where Panda is. They saw him reset, so he knows that he's able to get away with this. And this game is looking relatively grim for Wildcard. And it's good to see Immortals, you know, they talked about early control, keeping things cool, calm, and collected. They're doing just that in this one.
Yeah, this is just micro-domination here for the side of Immortals. They're just winning all their matches across the board. And, you know, a lot of the strengths, you know, that comes from Wildcard, I think would come from that team fighting. And when you take that away, what does Wildcard have to really work with? If, you know, Immortals continue to play for lane, continues to get everyone trapped onto their side of the map and whatnot, and not give Wildcard any opportunities to fight, that's just going to mean this Trollgaff continues to get bigger. This Azir gets that late game spike. You know, this Jinx is able to continue to have a lot of downs to the bot lane, which, you know, denies Panda from getting that large influx from gold if he's able to get some early kills in these fights. And especially, you know, Zeno just doesn't allow him to use that Event Horizon to full effectiveness. That's going to be basically 5 plates being taken over on the bot side. This Jinx is looking really, really big.
Yeah, and Wildcard don't really know or have the response quite yet. I think they're really going to wait till this third dragon where they can maybe get a Scion flank. But Team Luke, he's fishing.
Okay, might be fishing a little bit too far. Flashes 4, but there is the Devour coming out from Joey. And now Teleport does get canceled by Quacker over in the top lane. Could have looked really bad for a Wildcard, but Wildcard, sorry. Team Luke takes a little bit of damage from the rocket, is forced to back on out of there before Dragon spawns, so thankfully it's not up just yet, so he'll be able to make it back in time. But that is going to be Teleport gone from Top Hoon, and now it makes it a little bit harder for IMT to secure this Dragon.
Yeah, Team Luke going for the big play. I oftentimes in Amateur, I'll see big plays. Big port.
Okay, there's another Teleport on the side of Azir here, and now Pretty wanting to make something happen. No, it's just going to instead scare off the side of Panda and Daption. That will give bottom side control over to Potluck on his crew if they want to go ahead and get some vision. But look at this. Oh, they spot Panda. But the rest of the team is here to back him up for Wildcard. Lantern is available. There's the ultimate coming in. Panda using his E very aggressively. And now Quacker coming in from behind, but Pretty able to use the ultimate. They knock him out. And that will mean Top Poon is able to get that top lane all to himself. But second or third dragon of the game, will be denied by Wildcard, and they are going to be able to get this small victory for themselves.
Yeah, so Wildcard, they're forced to trade down in terms of gold with Tapoon getting that solo lane all to himself, but I think they feel okay about this. The fact that they stopped the dragon stacking. Securing that mountain dragon actually pretty important for them against the Jinx, right? Jinx doesn't have any % health damage in her kit, so those resistances going to be really helpful for the squishy members of Wildcard to try and prevent those Jinx resets from coming in. Because if Jinx gets excited, that's where things get really scary if you are Wildcard in this game. Still a 3k gold lead for Immortals. A little bit of a slip up there with that play and execution turned around by Panda, but they still feel fine. Things are still calm, cool, and collected as they are using the power that they got through both their side lanes to try and snowball this lead through mid-game.
That's a stone plate rush coming in from Cho'Gath. So we thought this Cho'Gath was tanky already. It's just going to get even more tankier. Being able to get that additional shield on the side. And, you know, I better not see a Sterax. I'm pretty sure Cho'Gath's don't build Sterax anyway, so let's not double stack those shields, please. I've seen enough of that already. Thank you very much.
XT, you're stealing all my banger color points, man.
Sorry, man. I've been in the depths of solo queue. I've seen what I've seen.
I was about to say that there was a little bit of like anger behind that one, like a personal vendetta behind that stack.
Man, you know, Renekton did that to me once, and I was just upset. So. You know,
well, these guys are pros, so I'm gonna hope that we don't see that interaction coming out. And so far, Tapoon has been nothing. I know he's the Void Monster, but he's been nothing but rock solid on the Void Monster in the top lane, as taking down these waves, staying. Honestly, his forward percentage this lane, it feels like he has been just living on Wildcard's side of the map. Really, really doing all that he can to get all the CS, get all the golden experience that he needs on the Cho'Gath to make a difference, as Team Luke now in the mid lane trying to use these Qs to poke out some members of Immortals. They're actually getting routed off.
Coming in. That's a 4-man ultimate, and Top Poon's coming in! Top Poon eats one! Top Poon looked for more, but he's just gonna go on out of there. It's a 1-for-1 trade Potluck for Team Luke. But there is a Rift Herald in the mid lane, and I'm pretty sure Immortals are going to be looking for as much as possible. Q is going to miss. Keith is excited. Currently in the Event Horizon, playing as safe as he can. Dashing going to be really low. Not going to miss again. And there's the Devour coming in from Joey. Quacker going to be in a little bit of trouble as well. There's the Event Horizon one more time. Top Poon now going to be stuck in the middle of it, taking so much damage, but he's too tanky. How many more times do I have to emphasize it? Keith no ultimate. Thankfully, we're not going to be seeing any of that. But all in all, that was just a 1-for-1. But Wildcard come out on top of that trade because of that turret going down.
Honestly, Wildcard's lucky that was a 1-for-1. The only thing that saves this fight for Wildcard is the cage from Xeno. It locks up Keith, Joey, and Tapoon on the follow-up here. Look how they're all stunned. They weren't able to quite get through that field. And then from here, the fact that Keith isn't able to find one kill, if he finds one of the members of Wildcard and gets excited, this could have easily been a 4-for-0 wipe XT. But Wildcard, they manage their health bars, right? They're able to keep everyone alive somehow on flashing HP across the board. And I cannot believe that no one goes down in this fight. Wildcard fighting around these cages pretty well, able to sneak out, use their health bars to the max. And the fact that they only lose... it's only a 1-for-1. They don't lose anything else. Is honestly a miracle for Wildcard. That was so close to IMT just snowballing this game out of control. But Wildcard, they hold steady. No members drop besides Team Nuke in the initial 1-for-1. They keep themselves in this game. It is a 3K gold deficit, but the game has not been blown up yet. Very important they survive that one as well, because if a fight goes in heavily in favor of one team or another, now the Baron is up on the map to use that to punish a lost fight even harder. And that's really where I think Immortals are going to set their sights after this Mountain Dragon, which spawns in a minute. I am still not sure if Wildcard can even contest this if Immortals overstacks the members into the bot lane.
Yep, you see the stone plate finish there for Tapoon. And that's just going to mean you thought it was hard to get him. If you couldn't kill him earlier in that previous fight, good luck killing him now, right? He's been able to get an extra stack thanks to that kill onto, I believe, Team Luke during that fight. But look at this. Tapoon now just walking up slowly and just pressuring the side of Wildcard. Look at this again. Potluck going to be going in. He's going to trade his life, but at what
Luke's
cost?
untouched.
Poon right now taking a lot of damage, and Keith is just in the backline doing sledge down. So look at that shield from Tapoon, just gonna be able to soak up a lot of pressure. But now, Pretty going to be doing as much as they can, and Wildcard essentially gonna be bullied off of this dragon here. They have a lot of work to do if they want to get near that that dragon, as well as their own turret, which is about to go down. And Wildcard actually end up getting one, but Potluck should be up right on time for this Dragon. Quacker just going to go ahead and TP for some Temple here. I wouldn't be surprised if Tapoon did the same.
Yeah, and Potluck, he funneled into the choke where Team Luke, he burned his flash, but Wildcard, they get a nice front to back where they can fight around that big cage from Xeno. But now Tapoon, he has an angle. Wildcard, they still want the fight.
Yep, Keith right now out of mana. He's going to be the first one down. That's going to be devoured out of that picture. And now the rest of Immortal is going to be looking to see if they can find anything else. But with a Jinx with no mana, is going to be super risky to be able to play these fights out because you don't have that easy access to that consistent jobless damage. They're just going to go ahead and get this mid tower and actually back on off because they still got to respect the smite from Potluck and also Tapoon's Devour. Or his feast. I think there's a lot of eating skills.
This is a little greedy from Wildcard. They might be able to get punished here. Panda and Xeno don't have a way out. They just have to stick the recalls, and this ultimately will give the third dragon over to Immortals. But Wildcard are narrowing this gold lead with some outstanding front-to-back fighting around these Viger cages, playing really well, really calm, cool, controlled and collected, doing what Immortals preach coming into this one. They're the ones that are slightly overextending into all this zone control that Wildcard has available to them as we see the initial fight. You see Potluck, he funnels into the choke. Team Nuke, he just flashes and ults, and all of a sudden it's a front to back where Varus is just free hitting the tanks, where he's in his comfort zone, right? With the Kraken Slayer build. And as this fight continues, just watch how Wildcard press at every single cage that comes down from this Viger. That's where they're looking to make their make their mark, as Wildcard overextending or extending for these trades. They find Keith at an awkward angle, and from here they're just able to pop Joey with the Viger Event Horizon, and then from there just playing around those cages so beautifully. And if Wildcard keeps on playing those controlled fights like that, it's gonna become a problem, right? Because Immortals, we talked about how their engage is pretty much running at them. And if you cannot run through that cage, you have to find an angle. And if there is an angle, then Wildcard have a lot of tools to deal with flanks. So I'm really going to look for Immortals to try and really get control over these objectives and use vision to the best of their abilities to try and find picks, because it feels like in a front to back, they're getting outranged by the Viger and the Varus.
Well, speaking of which, right now, mid lane is the name of the game here for Immortals. They're going to be looking at that Baron as it's the only objective up on the map. If I could get a little bit of a quick check on stacks for the Cho'Gath, he's currently at 8. So he's still going to continue to be building up to become that threat where it's going to be very hard to take him out, I would say. But the HP damage coming out from Team Luke because he's playing that AP Varus should be able to support that a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised next item for this Cho'Gath should probably just be the Thornmail, right? Because you have both the Graves and Varus just looking to auto-attack you to death. And
no, you gotta go for the magic
for
resist against this Varus.
Yeah, that too,
we saw the 763. You have to stop the magic damage, but IMT, they feel pretty strong right now. They're still up 1k gold. I think that they are going to use this neutral to try and bait a fight, try and catch out Xeno.
They also
talk about using vision to their control. You can also use monster objectives. As IMT, they're not looking to finish this. They're looking to peel and find a pick. But they're a little bit split right now. Does Wildcard feel A-okay?
That Horizon will miss. I thought that hit pretty, but it was just him stepping a little bit. And now the rest of IMT, they don't exactly have the best go button here unless they want to risk Potluck's life one more time. Q will land, but look this hook on the Cho'Gath. He's going to be the one down. Doesn't have time to pop the Stone Point, and huge damage coming out from Team Luke. That's going to be able... Wildcard are able to win that fight single-handedly, and now, again, this AP Varus is going to be a problem one more time.
We talked about the Blight stacks and the Empowered W. I think I just saw 1,400 magic damage come out from Team Luke's Empowered Q, where 3 Blight stacks were on the Cho'Gath. He's an HP stacker, right? You mentioned the Stone Plate, you mentioned the Feast stacks. That's all health for Cho'Gath. Team Luke, he specializes in percent health damage, and that Cho'Gath looking real squishy against the Varus, where all of a sudden, Immortals, they had this 4k gold lead. A couple fights where they lost control. Wildcard playing these fights really calm, really cool around the Veigar, who now has that cosmic drive where you get access to the extra move speed and ability haste. Wildcard are the ones that are playing this match like the true veterans, being led by the only veteran on the roster, Panda. No one else has played in Scouting Grounds. Team Luke was the only person that played in Academy with his brief sub stint with CLG before Katsuri got his visa in. And this is the team that are playing very, very... They're playing their comp out very well, and I'm very, very impressed. Usually we see Wildcard win through hectic team fights where Team Luke takes the cake. This is a new look for Wildcard, something that they've been saving. ADFX teased the fact they had something special prepped. I'm loving the way that they are playing out this comp, and it's really giving Immortals a lot of problems. They've not figured out the solution to this yet.
Yeah, and speaking of which, this is going to mean Wildcard, look at their positioning, they get full control of this Baron. No one else from Immortals able to answer this one. And, okay, they're just going to place a couple wards and get on out of there. Really nicely done there. Dragon, however, will spawn about 60 seconds to this soul point. You don't want to give that one to a Cho'Gath, who is slowly but surely stacking up more and more and more. And we talked about it earlier, that's the Negatron cloak coming on out there. And that's going to be really, really strong here for... or at least it's going to help him a little bit for the Cho'Gath, where he's just really looking to get as much magic resistance as possible so he doesn't get his full HP popped.
He's just looking to create space and not get picked off, and that's exactly what everyone from IMT is doing. As 25 seconds before the Dragon, you mentioned this is soul point. Wildcard do not want to give this away. They have a lot of real estate to make up as IMT have taken advantage of this bot river.
Hook.
Here we go.
There's the Stone Plate, and that's a huge HP, but look at this Harpoon almost taken down. Is going to get taken out by Luke, and now Wildcard looking to come out on top of this fight, but however, Immortals are not going down without a fight. Look at it, Steve, as he's doing as much damage as possible, but double kill now coming in for Team Luke. Event Horizon going to be coming out. Joey going to be losing that cleanse, and now it's a 3v4 to 2 carries and a Tom Kench versus the full team of Wildcard. Are they able to pull this one out? Keith right now going to be autoing the Dragon for himself, while the rest of Wildcard getting that mid-prio and slowly looking to corner the Immortals squad. They will concede, they will leave, and Wildcard will get the second Dragon for themselves. 2 Mountain Drakes now to add to their team, and they're going to maintain this lead.
XT Wildcard are playing this composition out beautifully. Just every member that gets caught by these stuns from Veigar, they're just isolating them, taking them out one by one, even if it is Tapoon, who can buy so much time with the tankiness that he brings on the Cho'Gath. It feels like he hasn't even been able to get off a Feast because he just can't move in these fights. And Immortals, they don't have the solution yet, so they're going to try and start the Baron, try and bait a favorable fight, a favorable position on a Wildcard, because these fronts to backs in these open areas have not been going their way. They're going to try and force Wildcard to overcommit, but Joey has to burn Flash early. It's at 7k. They don't have full members. It's a good chance for Immortals.
Yep, Immortals right now looking to
going
see
down.
if they can get the Baron for themselves. That's going to go on over to Jinx instead, and that will mean Feast is still available, but now Fight's going to get started up by a wild card. They're going to do the same thing to Typhoon again, looking to do as much damage as they can. He's not even going to have a chance to pop that Stone Plate, and now the rest of Immortals going to be going down.
Wow.
2 members down. They do still have 3 members with the Baron buff, but they will lose 2, and that does mean Wildcard gets a little bit of tempo for the Souls, but now they have to play against Baron buff and our Baron empowered Immortals Academy.
At least Immortals, they deny the Baron from the Rift. They secure it for themselves. They do lose 2 for the overstay, but I like the opportunistic play from Immortals, right? Because this is such a big problem they're facing against the Veigar. The fact that they can't really effectively flank anyone, it just enables Veigar to fight front to back, so they feel like they have to start up these monster objectives to force a fight in their favor. That said, Typhoon just gets cut off. Really nice ult coming out from Quacker. A beautiful stun dropped by Xeno stops any follow-up from Immortals, and Wildcard are just able to isolate these members down one by one. So clean from the amateur team here, XT, as they are looking poised to potentially take a 2-0 against Immortals, who are trying everything they can, everything they know to try and find a solution to this team comp that Wildcard has, but so far nothing has bared any fruit, as this Veigar-Varus combo is just proving to be a little bit too much to deal with.
Yep, and you know, as we continue to watch this game, we have to wonder now, it's like, I feel like Wildcard may just have a great control in this game. They gotta feel super confident heading into this one, and Immortals may be on their last legs here, but they are gonna be looking for a fight here. Over on the mid lane, Varsalt will hit Joey, but will not matter as there is no follow-up, and the rest of Immortals are actually looking to run it down mid. Maybe look to get this inhibitor for themselves. They do have the Baron-empowered buff for themselves, but you know, they will also have to face 5 members of Wildcard, but no Vars ultimately. That's what they can do. And Horizon hits! And it is going to get saved by the Tahm Kench, but this Tahm Kench will not be long for this world, and now the rest of the fight will continue. Looking pretty, doing so much damage to Quack, but there's a Stone Plate to help him out as well. Could have been bad, could have been worse, but at least it was just 1 kill. And Keith will continue to live as this siege no longer continues here. They're just going to go ahead and take the buffs away from Wildcard and walk down to the bot lane here. Game's not over just yet, but really tough push there coming out from Immortals.
I mean, what can Immortals do against this team composition if they can't find any angles? And finding the angles against Veigar, every time that cage comes down, XT, it feels like they're just finding stuns on the front line of Immortals and bleeding out all of the HP. Also, the health bar management from Wildcard. They haven't given a single reset over to Keith. Remember the powerful early game that Immortals had? The fact that Keith was up 30 CS. He's still up 70 CS on his lane counterpart in Team Luke. He hasn't been able to use that just because of how Wildcard are playing around the skills they have, the abilities. I really want to see I want to see Immortals try and bait Wildcard out a little bit too far into the mid lane or the river and use some TP flanks to try and create something for them, because without a turbo chem tank, without Pretty being able to use that Shurima Shuffle thanks to the cage from Veigar, they just can't find any angle, any favorable fight where Keith can get a reset.
However, though, we still have to be mindful about the amount of gold that is currently on both teams. And I think, you know, on the Azir, on the Jinx, they've just been farming and farming and farming, becoming more and more of a threat. But this fight in the mid lane could decide everything. Hook will miss. No longer will it land on Typhoon. He's going to feel really good about that one. And the rest of Wildcard now going to be on the run. Dragon Health will spawn in about 40 seconds. Event Horizon will miss. And now that's going to be Varro's ultimate hitting, but will not lay to anything. Cleanse now coming up for Joey here. He's going to live on a 7 HP. Event Horizon will tag Typhoon one more time, but he'll be able to walk away from that one. And now, look at this. Q will miss. Typhoon now will go down. No, let's move some great HP. There's the H to help him out. And now Keith trying his best to kite back, do as much damage as possible. Devour going to be able to help Keith for a little bit. Look at Pretty. Look at Pretty. Double kill for Pretty. And now looking for Pretty. And now he's going to look for another, potentially. 2 members still up. Xeno almost on a mana. Pretty going to be doing his best to see if
there's no mana.
Get anything else. Pretty's so strong. Pretty's going to be good here. Xeno going to be able to take 1 kill for himself, but Pretty is still able to get that unofficial quad kill for himself. That is going to be the Jinx, though, however, falling. And I do not think this Mountain Drake will go down just yet.
That's huge.
They will stop the base. That is huge. Teleport still up on the Xeno. He is going to have to try to see if he's going to be able to defend this
TP coming in from Pretty. This is gone.
Is going to see if Xeno can do anything. No, it's going to be gone.
It's gone.
Pretty is going to be able to help his team out. Immortals, huge team fight, 4 kills for Pretty, and now they will get this Mountain Soul, and they are looking good.
Immortals, they finally find the solution to the problem. And it's not any team fight or angle they find, it's just bleeding out Xeno's mana, right? He ran out of mana in the fight. He wasn't able to drop any more cages. As you're going to see, Tapoon, like we've seen in so many of these fights, he goes down first. Quacker finds a great ultimate, actually gets a double knockup onto Keith after he gets spit out, but they can't follow up onto Keith. They don't quite manage to find the damage. He barely survives, and Xeno, he's out of mana at this point, and Pretty on the back half. He didn't have to deal with the cage. He waited for the cage to go down. He found the perfect engage. We've been talking so much about Pretty, how hyped up he's been for Immortals, and he steps up big coming over from Europe. He has the experience. He's won big tournaments on the Vodafone Giants over in the Spanish League. Stepping up in this one, keeping his team in the game is now Immortals. They have a Mountain Soul. It's going to help against the Vigar. But the team comp from Wildcard, I think that they're scaling what they have. That isn't going to matter all that much. I think that this game is going to be all about, can Wildcard continue to find the picks, continue to find, play this one out slow, controlled, calm, cool, and collected. If they're able to do that, they can still execute their comp. Mountain Soul, yes, it does make it harder, but it's not a lost condition for Wildcard thanks to all the scaling they have access to on their team.
Why be calm, cool, and collected when you can be hyped, determined, and confident in your next fight? Immortals, they have to feel so good about that fight early, but now hooked on the Pretty, but sorry, that's a Devour, and now the rest of
Daption got chunked.
Daption gets chunked, like you said.
He's going down.
In a lot of trouble. If the Horizon not going to be able to lock on to anyone, Daption almost gonna stick it out. That's going to be the super mega Death Rocket missing, and again, Immortals so close, but now they're going to be looking at this Baron. The rest of Wildcard, they are going to try to find a way into this river, but Daption will be forced to back. It's a 4v5 at the moment, Cubby. I'm on the edge of my seat. I don't know about you, but now I'm looking at Immortals potentially getting this Baron.
They're going to the Baron. They have Wildcard chunked out. They don't have access to Lantern anymore. You can see Xeno, he's trying to wrap around. They're trying to go for the engagement. Kill off. Here we go.
Is what
Xeno's dead.
Wildcard has right now. They have to start the fight, but Xeno is gone. No more of that Horizons, and now that's going to be the rest of Immortals trying to see if they can turn things around. Quacker's going to be on the run here. It's Phantom! You stepped up 2-4. Gale Force will lead to a death. Triple kill for Pretty as he is now 7-0. And this game is looking doomed for the rest of Wildcard. Now they have to deal with the Baron.
Wildcard, it was going so well for them, but Daption, he gets forced out. His Lanterns have been so on point throughout the entire game, but without access to the Lantern, Xeno just steps up a little bit too far, gets taken down, has to go golden, and after that, Wildcard, they only have 2 members left. Xeno, 20 seconds on his death timer. Immortals, they've had such a tough time closing out this game, but they have 4 members in this top side. Tapoon has access to TP. They want to close this one out now.
Hook gonna land, but won't really lead to anything. Look, the shield onto Pretty at the moment, and now look at this. The rest of Immortals are gonna do so much damage to the team. Look, Flash Flood from PT is gonna be able to clean up the kills.
That's game.
Coming up from Tapoon. This is it. This is over. This series will continue, and another nail-biting series coming out from these two teams. We're going to game 3, folks, and oh boy, Immortals pull a win out of nowhere.
What a crazy game coming out. Wildcard, that team composition, it looked unbreakable. Every solution that Immortals was throwing at it, it was getting repelled. The Event Horizon was so tough to deal with, but then Xeno, he rums out of mana. They're able to chunk out Daption. Wildcard, they step up a little bit too far. They don't want to see that Baron, and all of a sudden, the Vigar, he's the linchpin of this composition. He gets taken down because he doesn't have access to the Lantern, and from there, everything that Wildcard did to come back in that game, all the picks, all the kills, all the objective takes, it just crumbles with 1 kill going over to the Vigar. Wildcard so close to finding the series 2-0, but instead Immortals, they come roaring back. They find the solution to the problem, and this game, this series is going to a game 3.
I'm so excited to see the conclusion of the series, Gabby, and I'm sure everyone else at home is excited as well, but let's hold the hype a little bit. Let's take a little bit of the chobo. Folks, we need a break, and so do you. Let's take a little bit of a breather here. I need some water as well. Proving Grounds will return 5 minutes in between this one and the next. Don't go anywhere, folks. Stay tuned.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
It's so much more than this, a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans like Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, as well as Discovery Plus, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.